Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to another episode of Successful Witches, our podcast where we are obsessed with all things indie romance, with spice, with smut, with the ultimate must-have accessory of happily ever after. I'm your host, Elliot Rose. I write spicy paranormal romance, and I cannot wait to introduce you to our beautiful guest this week, who is an incredible indie romance author. In this episode, I am so excited to bring you the wonderful Juliette Cross, who is a multi-published author of fantasy, paranormal, and contemporary romance. She writes incredible, swoon-worthy female main characters who you just fall in love with from the get-go, and her stories are just so captivating. We had an absolute blast talking about Juliette's career as an author, and then also lots and lots of exciting things coming up. Can't wait for you to dive in and tune into this episode with us. Thank you so much, our beautiful Juliette, for joining us today. I feel so incredibly grateful to have you here. We have had a whole lot of fun trying to get a time in your schedule. So we are...
Yes, I'm so sorry.
No apologies needed. We are deeply grateful to be able to sneak a little bit of your time in amongst all the things. So welcome on in.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We were just having a little chat before we started recording that we've having the fun of, it's evening for Juliette right now while we're recording.
Yeah.
It's morning for me. We're on opposite ends of the globe.
I'm having my afternoon coffee and you're having your morning coffee. So.
Yeah. So it's perfect time to be chatting all things spoony, paranormal romance, all of the exciting times. And I guess the first thing I always love to start diving in and talking about, because for every author, our journeys are so different in how we get to where we are and what we're doing. So for those who maybe haven't met you before or heard a little bit about your story of indie romance author life, would you love to give us a little bit of the goss of how you got started on your indie romance author journey? Because I know that it's always fascinating to hear everybody's journey.
Right. And it's true. Everybody's journey is totally different. So for me, I actually started as a traditionally published author with some small to mid-sized publishers. I published the Vessel trilogy, which was kind of a demon hunter trilogy, and then I sold Soulfire and the Nightwing series. It's a little novella series. And so things were kind of rolling along really well. And then Sam Hain, one of my publishers, went under. And so everything I had with them came back to me. And Kensington, my other publisher, had not signed me on for the second book after Waking the Dragon. And I had just gotten a new agent. And so we pitched to Entangled, and I went with Entangled because I really didn't. So I'm just going to admit this. I really didn't trust myself as an indie author. And I just kept thinking, I was thinking very old school, well, you need an agent. You really need to do that. Like in my head, it's just like how I had it like fixed. And then I went with another publisher and things were just still not going well for me. And at this point, I've written and published, I don't know, 10 to 12 books, and I had been writing a lot of darker stuff. And I remember going to my niece's house, my niece Jessin Judy's, who I do Smart Women Read Romance podcast with.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
For anyone who hasn't listened.
No, all we do is just like fangirl over the books we love. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and we sit there right alongside you, fangirl.
Oh, yeah. I was like, thank God someone's listening. We're just rambling for nothing, But anyway, we have so much fun. But one day I went to her house and I can't even remember if we were podcasting that day, but I had a bottle of wine. I was like, look, I have this new idea and I need to talk about it. Like I need to plot it out with you. And so I knew I hadn't wanted 6 witches in New Orleans. I was like, there's these sisters. I said, there's a werewolf who has a curse put on him. And as a matter of fact, I think it was her idea that his name should be Alpha. He's like, he's gonna be very alpha. She goes, his name should be Alpha. I'm like, it should be Alpha because he is the alpha, right? So we were laughing. And that was about probably 2018 when we started discussing this. I was still under contract for several more books with the publisher I was with. But I just started plotting it. I just started plotting like all the time, thinking about these witches and Stay a Spell and man, it was just like flowing, so by the time I put out Wolf Gone Wild, well, I should backtrack a little bit. I did publish like one book indie, which was my dragon series, but it was kind of like a series that had already started and it didn't really have a big following, but like Stayspell was just different. Like when I went into it, I said, okay, I want to do a totally different kind of cover. I know people are doing, usually for paranormal, you have a very certain style, right? For paranormal, urban fantasy, it has a certain look. I was like, well, this is rom-com, but I don't want like cartoon character illustrated. I want typography. I want us to focus on like the titles and the hand-drawn elements and stuff. So I got this fantastic cover artist, Jenny Ziminek, who designed Wolf Gone Wild. And I remember when I first saw that cover and I showed it to Jess and we screamed. We were just like, this is it. This is perfection, And then I was just hoping that people would like the book enough that I could keep going, and that's where it started. Honestly, my true indie experience started with putting everything into Wolf Gone Wild, all my time, all my effort. I also slowed things down as far as because I'd kind of gotten caught up in this machine of publishing and I was having to turn out at the date set by my publishers. And they're like, oh no, you can do it in this timeline. And so I was pushing myself and I feel like the creativity was being sucked out of me a little bit, So for Stay a Spell, I promised myself that I was going to give myself time with each book and each character. And I want it to be more romance focused, relationship focused, like a true contemporary, and light on the paranormal. And it's kind of funny because I know I've gotten criticism. Like I think somebody wrote, one of the reviewers early on was like, I thought this was paranormal. I'm like, well, it is, but
Yeah.
they were expecting like, all the crazy stuff. And it's very light on the magic and everything, which is exactly what I want.
It's like cozy magic, right? Like it's got that feeling to it that it's not that somebody, well, I mean, obviously there are higher stakes later on in the series, but certainly with that first book, it's not that sense that like something's going to jump out of the shadows and like eat you in the minute, but like the thing is
maybe and don't hex and drive, but
the
heroine's always gonna be okay, but no, that's totally what I was wanting. And so I think I'm really proud of the series because I had a vision and I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew the cover was going to be different, and I actually even remember showing the first cover to like an author group friend of mine, and the response was very like sort of like mediocre. I was like, ooh, did I do the right thing? And I'm like, no, I totally did the right thing. Like Justin was like, just shut up. This was the right thing to do. This is the perfect cover. I'm like, yeah, it is the perfect cover. All right. They don't know what they're talking about. Whatever. So
yeah.
But so I was a little unsure of myself, but Justin was my cheerleader the whole time. And of course, my husband, as always, and is like my number one supporter, number one fan. It's like, yes, you can do this. That looks great. And so I felt really confident, and I was just really proud because this was everything I wanted it to be. I had envisioned this family of sisters and sort of the found family of the extended secondary characters, and it all fell into place. Like it felt almost like a little cosmic, kismet sort of thing, and the fact that it has had the response that it's had is incredible. Literally life-changing, this series. So I'm very, very grateful to readers.
Well, it's so of fucking course, because these books are so good. And I really love as well that for me personally, I really enjoyed the fact that it focused on a group of sisters, as the core dynamic at the start, because so often, especially in like paranormal, we get like the group of guys or
the wolf
brothers, or the group of best friends, and then it kind of goes from there, and it's very driven by like the male main character, whereas like in this, at the heart of it is this group of sisters, and they're all witches, and it just like spoke on a level to me that I was like, yes.
And I also I'm so glad you said that. I also wanted like each sister to be very different personality wise, so that, and for their, and I know it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe a little bit too, convenient that there's 6 kinds of magic and there's 6 sisters and they all have one of them, like I know that, but whatever. I don't care. This is fantasy.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted each one to have like their magical power to sort of match who they are, and so it was really fun or funny to write Isadora, who's like a severe introvert with a little bit of social anxiety and stuff, which is not me personally. And but my niece Jessin, that is her. So like I would ask her, like, well, how would you react to the situation? Because she would like kind of read chapters for me. She was like, okay, this is what I would be doing, and so that's when I kind of like would heighten Isadora's like anxiety a little bit more to make it feel more natural for those, introverts that experience that. And so that was just really my hope, was that readers would find at least one sister that was like, oh, that could so be me,
Yeah.
So which one would have been you?
I don't know. There's a lot of me in the introverted side. Like there's a lot that I could recognize of myself in there. Like, I don't know. If anything, like I just really gravitated to Evie from that first book. Like I think because she's kind of got that more like, she's got the outgoing stuff, but she has also got the more reserved side. Like she's creative and she's happy in her own world, and
so Evie was based on me.
And here we are.
Perfect.
And like there's so much to love in that book, like between the two of them, because I think I saw a lot of my own life as well, like with Mateo, because like he's this sculptor, he's this artist, he's this creative soul, and I was like, well, my partner is an artist and a tattooist and a creative soul, and I was like,
awesome.
I could just see so much of like that dynamic in that relationship. I was just like swooning over the whole time reading that book. And then of course you add in the delicious element of like having the whole alpha dynamic going on inside. Just like I died like every time there was those like internal conversations going on. Because for those who haven't read the book, Alpha is the werewolf character inside that is
his inner
part
wolf
of him. But is like the very alpha dominant aggressive character, but
sex and violence. That's all he cares about.
But is trapped, so they're kind of in this stalemate of he can't like shift, and and they're just basically having this internal battle going on, which is hilarious.
And Mateo's our sweet cinnamon roll sensitive artist who's just like disgusted by Alpha and all of his thoughts. That was the most fun to write. Like honestly, I miss Mateo and Alpha so much.
But it's great like later on in the series, because we get kind of we get Alpha actually being like out in person,
right. He's like because now they're like basically even space, like he's giving Mateo room to breathe, but when things get really aggressive, like game night, Alpha comes out to have conversations. Man, that was so fun to write.
They're like, and the whole journey with the series, like you say, the found family thing is just so delicious as well, right? And
thank you.
There's that nice kind of side journey with the male main characters as well. I think like you touched on before, that they sort of build their own little bromance going on.
They do. And that just came out naturally. I don't know why. I think it was when I was writing Safe Hex, I was like, man, it would be so funny for all of them to be together, like boys game night. Because like, okay, so my adult sons play D&D. They're very much adult men. They still meet up and they play all night long, and they're like super serious about it. And I was like, that would be hilarious, So that's kind of where that inspiration came from. And then I just was having so much fun because the personalities again are so different in that room, I mean, Ruben and it was funny.
And then of course like Dev is just like
amazing. Yes,
his character, like I just have to say on a personal note as well, I really love that you brought, because so Dev, again, for those who don't know the series, is like our vampire Bollywood star, kind of like character.
300-year-old vampire warrior, former Bollywood superstar.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So he kind of like comes in this like whirlwind of, you know, bringing something very different to the dynamic for
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
But for me, it was just so delicious reading it because like for me, I actually like very, very long story short, I lived in Singapore for a really long time
Oh,
and
wow.
did all my high school there. And a lot of kids that were at my school came from Indian families, you know, if they were there like living and working as well. A lot were like boarding
Wow.
students. And so I literally went to school with like the kids of like Bollywood royalty.
Yes. Oh my
So it was a
goodness.
very familiar kind of like energy and world that I was suddenly
I
getting to
love
like
that.
get back into with reading that
To
book.
revisit a little bit, huh?
Yeah, it was so fun. It was so fun.
I am so happy to hear that. So wow. So I wrote Don't Hex and Drive during the COVID lockdown in the US, like during the quarantine when we were all
Yeah,
home. And everybody was stressed out at that time. Everybody was
yeah,
like, but I would just get in my world, I would get in my computer. But then I got nervous a little bit. I was like, um, like, should I be writing this Indian character? Can I do this well? Am I gonna, like I was really nervous about writing him authentically.
mm,
And so I talked to one of my friends, Naima Simone. I don't know if you know Naima. She's romance author as well. And she was like, no, you need to do this. She's like, just get your sensitivity readers, be faithful to
yeah,
that. And I said, that's what I'll do. And so I had actually spoken to two of my colleagues, Mona Shroff and Farah Heron, and they both gave me advice because I needed advice on the Hindi word, like, all of that. And then afterwards, I had three more sensitivity readers. So then I was like, okay, I feel safe because
yeah,
everybody was
yeah,
like, they gave me great advice, like great advice. And it really, I think it brought him more to life in a really, like I said, authentic way that I was proud of,
yeah, yeah.
And
And I love
so,
that scene where is it that he gives the video like, you know, of himself and like walks into the room, like the sisters have all
yes.
got it playing on the TV and they're
Isn't
all
that
like
the most embarrassing moment?
and they're all just literally like drooling over him, like
Yes.
bare-chested, like soaking wet,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
doing it like thing on TV.
Yeah. And Clara and Violet and Livy are like completely shameless, but
Yeah,
Isadora wants to crawl under the
yeah.
floor.
She's like,
I've been caught. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Oh
I was
yeah.
just like, yeah, I can totally picture the moment as well because it is that kind of like over the top, like you know,
Yeah.
but
That's what
it's
I
so
love
good.
writing in this series. Like these over the top like scenarios. Like what would be like the most embarrassing thing? Like
Yeah,
that was the whole thing with her package going missing,
yes,
next
yeah,
door. I was like,
yeah.
oh, we'll save that as a surprise for those who haven't
Yeah,
read.
exactly. We don't want to spoiler it for anyone who hasn't got into it. So
Right.
basically,
Yeah.
like press pause, go and like download all, get reading, then you
Yeah,
can come
there's
back.
lots to catch up with.
Yeah,
Oh my
because we
goodness.
have now completed the series. That's been like one of your big
Yes.
things. Like at the time we're recording, we're about, is it about a month since?
Well, actually, a couple months. It came out in May 9th, I think, was Grim and
Yeah,
Barrett. Can you
yes.
believe that? Yeah.
Where,
So
where the
June,
fuck
July,
have the last 2 months
August.
gone?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. But so the series is now complete, and
Yes.
you have what should we say, like of sorts had to say goodbye to our sisters, but not entirely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. So, okay. So
I know
February.
again at the time we're recording this, depending on when you're listening in the future or watching in the
Yeah.
future, there are things that we can dance around and there are things that we can't like quite
Right.
reveal yet.
Yeah, and I can definitely share this because it has been let out into the world, but I think some people have missed it. So I need to get on my newsletter. Apparently, I need to send those out. But I'm behind on a lot of things. But so around February, and this is me in the midst of finishing or writing Grim and Barrett, the sixth book, the last book in the series. Union Square reached out to my agent about possibly doing, selling my print rights. And I was like, well, let's talk about that. Like, what would that mean? And so basically the partnership is going to allow Stay a Spell to have a much wider audience. They'll be in Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, like the brick and mortar books, which that's the hardest thing for indie authors. Like we can reach our ebook audience really, really well, but our print audience, we really can't, I mean, it's very, very difficult. So we're limited in that respect because traditional publishers just still have that relationship with the brick and mortar books. Stores. It's just kind of the way it is. So anyway, long story short, they're like, are you planning on doing any, spinoffs or any more books? And I was like, well, I've been thinking about doing a spinoff. And so like, what would that look like? And so then I was like, well, let me think about this. Cause like, I had been thinking about it. And then it's so funny because a lot of readers are like, do a whole series on the wolf pack, do it on the cousins, do it on, and I just was thinking, the more I thought about it, I just really wanted to do a next generation series. I wanted to, because I wanted to feel brand new, but also the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The characters are brand new. We're still gonna see all the aunts and uncles and moms and dads, and all those things. And oh my goodness, y'all just wait for the first book. I'm already laughing. At what's gonna happen in the first book. So basically I now have a partnership with them, and the print books will be re-released starting with Wolf Gone Wild in October, and one will come out each month. And in March, Grim and Barrett is going to come out with chapter 1 of A Rebel Without Claws, which is book 1 in Southern Charm this year. So, yeah, excited.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting.
I'm super excited. If y'all had any idea, I've already like semi-plotted out the first 2 books, and I can't write it yet because I'm working on other projects. But yeah,
which we are going to touch on, by the way. It's so good because you have got this like brood of children that are coming along nicely in the Stay a Spell series. So with this I mean, like with that many sisters and that many very, very virile main characters.
They'll be planting seed for sure.
So we've got inherently a very extensive world, as you say, to go like into with like next generation.
Right. Yeah, I know. And I don't know how many books they're going to be. That's the only thing. People are like, how many can be? I'm like, I don't know. We'll figure that out as we roll along.
Yeah. Because of course it's like, if you've got this many kids and then all of them start like,
having
other
partners, and if I do one for every single one, I'll be writing this series for many, many years to come.
Yeah. You'd be like locked into this world forevermore.
I know. Well, look, Nalini Singh does it with Side Changeling. She's still writing those books.
Exactly.
It could be done. We'll see.
You'll be it'll be like the next Immortals After Dark as well, like just continuing like on.
Just gonna keep on going.
Yeah.
Keep on writing.
Yeah. It's so delicious. And of course, like we haven't taken a quick moment to just mention our very hot Grim boys, because we've talked about our Wolfie boys, our vampire boys, and we have to just give a special shout out to our couple of Grim boys from the Stay a Spell series, because holy fucking hell, like they are
there's something else. Yeah, that was fun because the Grims were probably the most fun to write in the aspect of I could like just use my imagination, because I didn't want them to be like the Angel of Death, which is what we consider the Grim Reaper, right? But I wanted them to have some aspects to the spiritual world. I wanted to connect that, of course. So that was fun. That was so fun. And honestly, I remember when I was writing Henry and Grim and Barrett, and again, I won't say any spoilers, but there's some spooky paranormal stuff that happens. It got me really excited about writing what I'm writing now. Like I was getting in my dark mood, I was like, oh yes, I can feel it coming, so.
They kind of bring in the darker element to the sort of rom-com style that the rest of the series sort of tends to live in, but they bring in that little hint of like the dark bad boy.
It is kind of funny because I consider these rom-coms, but when I think about it, there's like a blood trafficking ring in the
Yeah.
vampire story. There's like these like crazy wolf pack come to town in one, and then there's like super bad villain in the fourth book. That's my darkest one. But and that was the reason everybody's like, why did you say Clara and Henry for last? I'm like, because I knew it was going to be the sweetest romance. I wanted to end the series with like just like gushy, ushy, squishy love, and
yeah. And it is very much, it's like the classic, like, he's besotted. Like,
yeah, he's just completely out of his mind for her. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, we love a boy obsessed, right from like
exactly,
even when he can't talk to her.
Yes, even when he's just like tongue-tied or says stupid things. Like one of my favorite scenes was in Safe Hex where where Gareth and Henry are at the table in the cauldron and Clara comes up to say hi and he's just totally like, no, we can't watch a movie together. And she's like, oh, okay, walks away. And Gareth's like, wow, you're just like such a charmer, you're like you got so much game there. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Henry's like beating himself up.
Yeah, like you just basically like bit the head off the person that
you're like, we all know you're in love with her. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And like all those little
socially awkward.
All those little cute moments, like how he like quit smoking for her because she like made a little like subtle reference somewhere to like, I don't want to like be kissing an ashtray, and so like whoop, he's suddenly not smoking.
Suddenly he's chewing that nicotine gum like crazy, right?
It's like the best little swoony moments. But like you're so right with the whole like paranormal romance inherently, like we've got to have all the dark shit there as well, right? Like
right. Yeah, like I know it's such a cute little rom-com, just
but we're gonna have blood and death and gore and
yes, exactly. Super villains are gonna be in there. They're just gonna die really easily. Don't worry, we're gonna get rid of them quickly.
Yeah, but you've written like right through to contemporary, like real life romance, like small town romance as well. Like how do you find, because I know you've kind of mentioned as well, like going back into your dark era, which we're gonna touch on in a moment, but like how have you found for your creativity, like going between the sort of darker stuff? Because I know like I really enjoyed, like, I can't remember when I read the Vessel trilogy and like the kind of spin off into all the demons and things, like that's dark.
You've
like
read
that series, I really enjoyed it. Like I loved it. And like Jude is so swoony. Oh my god,
Jude, it's my first hero I wrote. Yes,
he's so swoony. But yeah, like that's very dark. And then you've got like the dragon one's like kind of, I think it like oscillates, right? Like it's got some it's got darker elements, but it's got a lot of like very romantic stuff.
Yes.
Well,
yes. True.
Yeah. And so like obviously you've also dipped your toes in the kind of contemporary, like just normal everyday human romance as well.
Straight rom-com. I know. What am I doing? What the hell is Juliette doing?
Like how does it work for your creative brain? Like, do you enjoy it, or does it feel a bit like?
I love it. No, it's honestly, I need it. And that's kind of how Stay a Spell was born. I've been writing so much dark stuff for a while, and I was like, I want something light. I was like, I think I'm pretty fucking funny, and I think I can I think I can write this shit, and thankfully I was not wrong. So, or apparently some people think I'm funny. So and then sometimes I'm just like, look, I was one of those super emo teenagers. I'd like to listen to The Cure and Depeche Mode. Like I'm totally like Livy in Safe Hex. Like that was me as in my younger years, and I still like to listen to it. But so I kind of like vacillate, and I honestly just don't want to be put in a box. And the funny thing is though, is because the funny thing is that I also got a little nervous venturing away from my brand. Okay. Because that's the one thing they teach us. Like you need to create a brand and you need to stick to it. And you need to hammer it home and just stay the course. I am not doing that at all. Like I am way off brand. I'm like way off in the rom-com world. And then I'm about to venture into dark fantasy romance, which is also new for me. I would say the Dragon World with Waking the Dragon and Veil of Stars, like that series is probably the closest thing I've written to high fantasy, but it's it still feels urban fantasy, because I have some technology and stuff like that. So I've never written true high fantasy, the whole fae, elves, magic kind of world. And well, there's no elves, but I am writing a high fantasy now. And so this is exciting for me. It's very exciting. I think I thrive on world building is what I figured out. And so I love creating new worlds. It just, my muse gets so excited, like Christmas morning, like, yes, we're going to add this monster here, and I love that. It's so funny. So for a project that I can't tell you all about, that is also high fantasy, that is also coming in the future, I brainstormed with my son, who's a D&D, he's a dungeon master. And so we were talking about different kinds of dragons. I'm like, let's talk about this, And so we just started talking about the different characteristics of dragons. I'm like, I could totally use that. I was like, that would be really cool because how they look in the D&D world, and it kind of fit what I was working on. Or am working on in the background. So yeah, so it's like really cool. Like I get excited about creating new worlds and just characters that are like, there's some elements of danger in some way, and so, or risk in some way. And I think that's what, even in Stay a Spell, we see that in some of the characters. Like obviously Mateo's in danger, and we don't really feel that heavily then till we get toward the end. We feel like something bad's coming, and somebody's gonna save him. It's gonna be Evie, but and so I don't know, I can't stay put. And I keep trying but I can't. So yeah, so
it's obviously resulting in beautiful creative expressions. So
Thank you.
And I think that's a really good point, right? That, for anyone out there who's kind of feeling that pressure of you have to be in a box, you have to be like recognized this thing, you have to build your brand, like it's also inherently like being a writer is a creative thing. And
exactly.
For some people, they're going to thrive in writing to a formula, right? Like we know the authors who can produce amazing series that are essentially formula, like I'm just thinking like even like like Ice Planet Barbarians or whatever, that sort of world.
Ruby Dixon,
so like that sort of world and building and like everything, like that is going to be something that totally allows an author to thrive. And then for others it needs to be that like in between a few different things, or allowing and I have creativity to flow.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I have friends who even have that, like they even know it's like, okay, we have to have your second little conflict here. And then like they know what the bell curve is supposed to look like. And I do not at all. Now I'm an outliner, a plotter, but I just gotta go on instinct. I write on instinct, and I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it's just my process. Like I can't like tell myself, okay, right here is where I'm gonna have, whatever. Or they're like, they have to have sex by 50% or no one's gonna read it, or whatever for romance. And gosh, I know I probably damaged some people in Wolf Gone Wild. Sorry if this is a spoiler, but it doesn't happen at 50%. Wait, let's a slow burn. So
but we have to say that like it's a slow burn, but you've got plenty of tension in
that's what I love.
And
I love that.
Honestly, like I love a good book where they're getting down like fairly early on in the piece, right? But like honestly, like the tension build and that just like between the characters is just so good. And because you almost had like two different characters that were building that tension with Evie. So it was like it almost like it makes sense that you had moments where it was like Mateo wooing her, like, and having this very sweet kind of like, going on dates and things, and then Alpha basically just like fucking pinning her in the corner. Like that scene, the haunted house moment, like I was screaming.
Oh my God. So I'm so happy to hear that. So here's a little secret about me. Every time I write a book, there's at least one scene that has been in my head for months up to years even. That, and I, because I'm a linear writer, I don't write scenes ahead of time. I might take notes like this is where that scene goes, but I don't write until I write the whole book. I don't stop and skip scenes or whatever. So I've been waiting the longest time by the time I get there. And that was the haunted house scene was my scene. I'd been thinking about it so long. Oh
yeah, it's just so good. It's so good because it is the ultimate, like, what the fuck is about to happen, like, moment.
Yeah,
it's like, holy
shit. A little scary and a little hot.
Yeah. Like, what's that, like, I'm thinking of that meme where it's like, is it like a parrot or something sitting there that's all like, I'm scared and horny right now or something?
Yes, like, and turned on. Awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's very, it's, and that's the thing, right? Like, slow burn literally can, you can have a scene that is tension building that hits way more than people having sex. Like, I think that's something as well, right? That,
and I think that I agree, and I think you need that in every book. Like, even if it's one where they have early on, like a one-off sort of thing, like, or like a one-night stand or whatever, and then they go back and they're not. I think that tension has to be there, for us to really, for when they finally do and there's feelings, we need to feel that tension ahead of time. Because that, to me, as a reader, is the most exciting, is if there's been this sort of tension that's building between them and they can finally, express it in all the ways, and that's what I love when I'm the whole falling in love phase, and does he like me? Does she, that sort of thing. And then they finally admit it. And it's just, awesome.
It's the like ultimate swoon, right? Like,
right. Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm fascinated to know, like, with because before we press record on this episode, like, we were just touching on, like, the fact that this year so far, 2023, has had like so many things coming your way, like firing from all directions. What can you kind of tell us about, like, I guess, what should we call it, like, the Juliette Cross verse, and like what's happening? What can we talk about that is coming? So I know we've got something in January 2024 we can talk about. And just give us all the tea, because we're so here for it.
So there is something coming soon in the fall, and just kind of, if you follow my Instagram, you'll see pretty soon. Actually, it's going to be announced pretty soon. But the thing that I'm working on now and super excited about is the Wraith King, which is a dark fantasy romance. It is, like I said, it's my first high fantasy romance. It is a world of all fae and monsters and different kinds of creatures. And I'm just freaking out about it, because like I've been able to create this whole mythology behind their worlds. Like, for the dark fae and the light fae, they have their own gods, and like just all of that sort of plays into so of course we're going to have a dark fae king fall for a light fae royal. So
like,
I'm just
pumped. Yes.
And it's going to be it's going to be like almost a forced arranged marriage. So we have a little morally gray hero here. I'm like, what do I say? Do I say too much?
How much can I say? Is this a standalone, or is this going to be part of,
it was supposed to be
world?
It was supposed to be, but I don't know what I was fucking thinking, because I cannot create a world and it's be a standalone. Because I originally, because I actually even got an artist, and she's like, well, the artist, have you seen the oh my gosh, the Laura Lust series? I don't know if you've seen that. Those covers are really pretty, like bright. So I got this artist, Sander Lynn. She is amazing. If you would, I will sneak to you on the side and show you, but I can't show your people. So, because it's still being made, but this will probably be the most beautiful cover I've ever had. I'm just gonna say it. It's stunning already, and it's not done. But when I first talked to her, she's like, well, is this a standalone? Because I can do it if it's a standalone, but my schedule is tight. And I was like, oh, it's totally a standalone. Well, now it's not. So it is going to be a trilogy. there will be 3 different books. There's going to be a novella, and I can't tell y'all about that, but watch my reels tomorrow and that'll give you a hint about the novella. And I'm actually going to have a free short story that I'm going to post in the fall that's set in this world to just give everybody a little taste of what it looks like, and some of the players. So it went from 1 to 3. Well, a free short story I've written, for just the hell of it, whatever. Because I have all the time in the world,
it's like not like you're doing anything else, like
no, at all. Oh my god. So
that's the amazing thing about like something creative like this, that it just captures your imagination to that level, and that you know that that's something to follow when it's like it won't leave you alone like that.
Exactly. It feels special to me, and I love writing in this world. Like every moment I'm in front of this computer and writing, I just feel like, oh god, I love this. Like, and of course in the back of my mind I'm like, are readers gonna hate this? Is this gonna be boring? Is it stupid? Like you all have those voices, but at the same time it just feels so good as I'm writing it, so I'm I have some great beta readers. I'm sure they're going to help me, get it into shape and all those things. But this is going to be an exciting world. I mean, I'm very excited. Very excited.
And it's so interesting, like you say, with fantasy and going into that more like high fantasy world building. Like, what I love about that is just like the sky is literally the limit. There are no rules. Like there are no you have to have this sort of thing. Like we can be inspired by what other characters we've read about in other, books or media, or like seen on movies, or whatever we want to draw on as inspiration. But we literally like, your fae can look and be and behave and do whatever they want. I even love the fact that, like, I think there's something I've seen a few times that talks about how, like, even just the spelling of fae, or like, it can be like a million different ways.
Oh yes, I'm spelling magic with a CK instead of just like a C in this one. I mean, it is. It's so true. And I think that's what's now this is taking me longer to write, like, than Stay a Spell. Like when I think about, and the thing is, like, it's not the Stay a Spell, it's easy. It's that, first of all, I got faster with each book because I knew the world so well, and I knew the characters so well, that it just like it came to me really fast. So I'm starting all over. This is a brand new series, but it's also literally, I'm like, oh, what would this part of the country be called? As they're like traipsing through it and whatever, so you have to like name things, you have to name gods, you have to develop the politics of the world, and then of course the characters, themselves. And so my Wraith King is his name, I'll tell you his name is Goliah Verbane. He's delicious. I just can't wait.
we love a morally gray mermaid character.
That, which, of course, he's secretly obsessed with her, of course.
Of course. We love that, because it's like the just having that, knowing that they are the way they are because of various reasons or whatever, like that's the delicious part of the character journey, right? Isn't it? That it's like, so often in these fantasy worlds they have to portray a certain thing because of who they are, or where they're from, or their families, or their politics, or whatever, and then you've got this chink in their armor that's just like, yes.
It is delicious to write. It's like been so much fun. I'm just like, I can't wait to share things.
I know. I'm like straddling the line of like how much I can like tease out of you. Is the trilogy gonna focus on the same
no, different couples?
We're gonna have like different
we'll have different in each. These of course will be longer books than the longest I've written. Fantasy books tend to be longer, but each one is going to be about a different fae lord and his heroine.
Ah.
So, because there's 3 different kinds of fae. I love when things are symmetrical. I know it's so weird. Like, I like when there's 3 different kinds of fae, so we're gonna have 3 different kinds of lords. Like, I like that. I'm just so weird about things being even and like, so yeah. So that's how it's gonna kind of be set up. And it's what's been really fun is I wrote a myth for the gods in this world, and it's kind of based off, I mean, thinking about how Greek mythology is written, like this sort of explains why there's stars in the sky or whatever, and that's kind of what this one is, but it's got like serious repercussions of characters. But in my world, the light fae and dark fae are descended from the gods. So they kind of side with one side, and so it was really cool. It starts with an old demon myth, and then we get into this prologue that is really dark and gritty, literally starts in a dungeon. Yeah, and then where we meet both our hero and heroine, and then we have a time jump till they're adults. Or he's been an adult, she's younger in the prologue. So
oh, it's gonna be so fun.
I know.
It's gonna be so much
good. I'm so excited. Like, seriously, it's I hope I'm not building it up in my head more than it is, but to me it's like super exciting. So
and I think we're coming, like, obviously there's in indie romance, there's sort of like tends to be like these sort of like ebbs and flows and like trends and things start to sort of like happen like just by pure kind of, I guess, like coincidence
just
or whatever.
Coincidence,
but I do feel that we've seen kind of this year, like there's been a big, I guess, like surge of more like contemporary, like we've had the hockey romance explosion that like
the TikTok insanity.
But I do feel that like there are so many readers, especially that I know in my world, like, who just love paranormal and fantasy so much and are like hanging out for more of that, because they are sort of books that do need a bit more time to develop and to grow. And as you say, like, you're writing a whole world down to like language and culture and politics, and like you have to kind of have it in your mind to be able to write.
And it's so in the time frame I would have written an entire stay spell book. I've written half of this book. So, and I know a lot of that's world building, like I've had to slow down, and I'm using Scrivener, and if you know what that is, it's basically like a different, and I've never used it before until this time, but it's been a lifesaver because I can literally go click and be like, what was that town called I wrote? Like, I can just go click on it, and then what was that guy called? And I can click on it. So it keeps my little book Bible right there for me. Which I'm gonna I mean, to me it's like, how can you write fantasy without having this? But so it's taken much longer, like I said, but I'm not rushing it. Like, I just feel like it needs the time to be really I don't know. I just feel like I'm best when I don't put that super stress on myself, and that I just give it a little more time. So it's set for January 30th. I think I only had to push one book back my entire indie career so far, and that was like Bright Like Wildfire. And whatever. Nobody was like waiting in line, but I never missed a stay spell. Like, I never moved a stay spell book. And I don't think I'm gonna have to move it. I think it'll be fine. And the only reason is that I have to finish this one because I have another one I have to write. And that's the one I can't tell y'all about because I haven't signed the contract yet. But I am actually gonna sign a traditional for the traditional publisher, but one I really, really, really respect. And I never thought I would ever get an offer from these guys. So it's super exciting. And it's more high fantasy.
Wow.
And just just get ready for that. Hopefully that announcement will be soon too.
It's so amazing. And it just like, also I just want to take a moment to like acknowledge that like these things, really come about as testament to the fact that you have been doing this, like you've been building these worlds and these series, and like, you know, it's like everything builds on everything, right? So it's like, even though you might look back and go like, oh, this series I was doing way back here, like it all
I didn't do great or whatever.
The foundations for what has to come later, like, and you learn so much. Like, I'm sure you'll look at, like, you know, the success of the Stay a Spell series and know that so much of that was founded on the learnings from your other series. And even like what you mentioned at the start about being on those kind of deadlines and things with a publisher, and how that impacted your creativity and all of these things. Like,
yes, thankfully I'm going into this contract with like eyes wide open. You know, I'm not a green girl anymore. And of course I have an amazing agent who made sure that, you know, everything looked right for me and good for me, and they know that I'm going to continue to be an indie author, so we have to juggle my schedule. So, you know, my goal right now is to write 3 books a year. Of course, now I'm adding in a novella here and whatever, but 3 books. If I could get myself to the schedule, this would be great. It'll be, you know, focusing on Southern Charm, and then the Wraith King, and then this other traditional series. So I say traditional series, it's traditional published, but and what's interesting is the series that hate that I can't talk to y'all about, like
I feel like it's like the like series that shall not be named.
Yes, the series that shall not be named yet, but will be. Hopefully in the next month, once the contracts are signed, we can make that announcement. Because then it'll say the titles and what the books are about. It is literally something I've had in my vault for 10 to 12 years or so. Like, I thought of this idea so long ago. And so when the editorial director had approached me, I was like, they kind of wanted something like Wolf Gone Wild. They were thinking rom-com, paranormal, and I'm like, how about a dark fantasy? Like, this one I've had like forever. But it just the fact that they were so excited. Like, I wrote the pages, I wrote the first several chapters, and they were super excited. And thinking about what this publisher can do with this series, because it is going to have that sort of high fantasy flair to it. You know, the covers, like, I'm just thinking, oh, they're going to be gorgeous. So it is different. And honestly, I never thought I would be one of those people where a big publisher would come knocking on my door. You know, like, that genuinely was shocking. You know, and again, I can always say, you know, this is all because of Stay a Spell, because the editorial director had read Wolf Gone Wild and loved it and reached out to me and my agent, and it was like, wow, this indie series that I decided to do all my own has like changed my life, literally changed my life, you know. So I'm blessed,
like,
and grateful.
I've got like all the feels, because it's like it's amazing. And it's such a good example as well, like you say, that you don't have to be one or the other. You can still be indie, you can still be self-published, and you can have these amazing opportunities come along as well. Like,
and you can do rom-com, and you can do dark, and you can do whatever you want, you know. I mean, my what has given me the most success is by following my muse and following my instinct, you know. And so, and again, you know, maybe like you said, like those beginning series, like, I really still care about those characters I wrote way back when, you know, and I love them and I love thinking about them. And when somebody's like, oh my gosh, I just read the Black Lily, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, like, that feels like forever ago. But again, I learn every single time I write something, you know. It's like you said, I just try to get better. Like, I always want to become a better writer, you know. I love writing and creating, and I just want to be better each time, you know.
I feel that it's like, I genuinely, like, every book I do, I'm like, as long as I feel like I've improved in some way, like, you know, based on my own set of standards, like, I'm a happy camper, like, you know, like, that's my only competition, is like with myself.
Good for you. Exactly. And that's how it should be, you know, honestly. And I think we probably get down on ourselves so much because we're always like, oh, look at that person over there who's just having all this success. And then And then you start to feel like, well, I'm not successful because I'm not, and we just can't do that. We just can't, and everybody's success is different. Like I remember at one time I was like, I just want one day to be invited to Rare. One day I want to be invited to Rare. Like that was like on my bucket list. And then I finally was, and it was because they didn't have enough people for Australia, and I couldn't go to Australia. It was like next month, and I'm like, I can't just like go to Australia next month, And so then I got invited, and this past summer I went for the first time, and I was so excited. It's like, and forever I'd wanted to go to a Polygon. Like I had put my name in year after year after year. I was rejected, I think 3 years in a row or something. And then I think Melissa Coy, who's one of the organizers, I think she read one of the Stay a Spell books, and then she was like, oh yeah, you need to come. But I finally got an invitation. I was like, oh my god, I got invited to a Polygon.
I'm there.
It's like it took me years to get there. I've been publishing since 2014. It's and that journey to success is like it's different for every writer, and it's like it takes time for some people. Although when they're like, oh, you're just like successful overnight, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I've been writing overnight my ass, believing for this forever. But so I'm very content where I'm at, but I still have goals. There's still things I would like to accomplish that I haven't yet. So
well, we are so here for all of the future mountains that you're going to climb, and we cannot wait to come along and join you on the journey. And like, holy shit, the next 6 months are going to be just so fucking good. So we have to make sure that you've let everyone know. Where can everyone stalk you, find you, be in touch, keep up to date with all of these things that are coming, because there is a lot of news coming.
There is a lot. I'm addicted to Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, I post like 3 days a week. I'm like obsessed. I have a problem. I need to step away from Instagram, but I can't. So Instagram for sure. I definitely have a page, Juliette Cross author, on Facebook, TikTok. It's Juliette Cross author on all the socials that I'm on. Trying to think if there's anything. Pinterest. I have some lovely boards on Pinterest for all the Stay a Spell books, and even for the Wraith King's already up. Like I have some inspo boards. So if you're curious of just what's going through my head, you can check out the inspiration boards on Pinterest for sure.
Perfect. So, I love Pinterest for a good like visual.
Oh gosh.
Books. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We will make sure to link up with the show notes of the episode, and of course we'll link up where people can get on your newsletter as well, because I think that'll be where things like with the novella coming and things like that.
Absolutely. And I'll actually have a link to the free short story that's coming pretty soon, maybe in the fall. Yeah. So.
It's amazing. Oh my god, I could have you here all day talking about all of this and all of the magic.
Thank you so much.
Just want to say the biggest thank you. This has been an absolute treat, and just like a personal highlight of mine, because I think I've read every single thing you've ever written. So
oh my goodness.
Like I read like whatever it was. Like I think Wolf Gone Wild was out, and then which is the next one in the series after Wolf Gone Wild?
Don't Hex and Drive.
I think it was when both of those were out, and I was like eagerly waiting for like whatever was to come. And I just like went and I was like on a Juliette Cross like binge and just did like everything you'd ever written, like back catalog. So
oh my goodness.
When you're talking about those ones like the Black Lily series and stuff, like I've been there, can vouch for it all. Go and binge everything.
Oh my goodness, you're the best. Thank you, Elliot. This was fabulous. I love this interview. This was great.
And I'm going to put it out there and manifest that we're going to be talking again when Wraith King is out, because we have to talk about like all the things that we haven't been able to talk about. Because right. So and that'll be, so if we do that, we could do it in January before Wraith King comes by, then y'all are gonna have all the teasers and I can talk about stuff. And you just let me know. Let me know. We'll talk about all the things again. So we're like we're locking it in. It's happening.
Yes, I would. That's what's killing me. I'm like biting my tongue, you know, because I know my social media assistant's going to be like, "What are you doing talking about that yet?" I'm like, "Hey, you know,
like,
sorry, I can't shut up." I mean,
I was in the zone. I was in the zone.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you, my love. And thank you everyone for tuning in, for listening along, for watching along. It's been a pleasure as always. Make sure to go click all the links that we'll have linked up and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us, as always, for another episode of Successful Witches. You can find us online in all the places at successful.witches. I'm your host, Elliot Rose, and you can find me at Elliot Rose Author on Bookstagram, on BookTok, and of course we will have linked up all the relevant places you can go and connect with our wonderful indie author on today's episode. You can connect with me, you can find all our books, all in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening. If you love this episode, please remember to like, to subscribe, and to share on social media. We love to see the tags if you've been listening in or watching along. Can't wait to see you on the next episode.